Okay, so good morning everybody. So before we start, I just want to make sure that everybody can see us and hear us perfectly. And if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves in the little text box, put your name in, put your area of study, put your qualifications in so that we know who we're talking to. So if you can see us and hear us, if you could just write a little message into the social stream there on the right hand side of your box, and we'll then get started. Okay. Can you all hear us? We'll wait until you introduce yourselves. I can see there are 6 viewers. Martin, can you hear us from KOM Consultants? Okay, so the session is now live. So what we'll do, please feel free to write any questions or any comments that you may have into the social stream, the little text box that runs down the side of the screen. And we will keep talking and we'll try and address your queries as they come through. So without any further ado, let's get started. My name is Anthony Bradley. I am the Regional Manager at Griffith University. And I have the wonderful job of traveling around the world to promote our programs. We work very, very closely with KOM Consultants who are based in Hamilton, Ontario, to make sure that our Canadian students have all the best services provided to them. And we've had a long and inextricable working relationship with Griffith University. So in a nutshell, oh, just a minute. Just a minute, the phone's going off. Sorry, you're right. So in a nutshell, Griffith University, we are a comprehensive multi-campus university. We consist of 5 campuses that run from the capital of Queensland, which is Brisbane, down to the Gold Coast. We've got roughly 43,000 students across a huge array of different programs. We generally are divided into 4 groups, which is Griffith Business, Griffith Sciences, Griffith Health, and then Humanities, which is Arts, Education and Law. We are a very international university. We roughly have a student body of international students of 25%, so about 11,000 students from over 130 different countries. And Canadians make up a fair number of those. In fact, the Canadian Students Association is by far and away the loudest of the international students association that we have. So what we do through KOM Consultants, we deliver these webinars very, very regularly. And because of the interest that we have out of Canada, we are now focusing on academic disciplines specifically. So we used to do generic webinars, but now we divide them up into our academic disciplines. So I'm very, very happy to introduce you to Dr. Therese Wilson, who is the deputy head of our law school here. And Therese will give you a short presentation on the options that you have at Griffith University if you're interested in law. We'll talk about the components of the program, the structure, the duration, etc. And if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the box, and we'll address them as we go through it. So I'll just hand over to you, Therese. Okay. If you want to sit here, and then I can actually look at the questions.
Okay, all right. Here I am. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks so much for signing in to this webinar. The Griffith Law School is actually taught across 2 campuses. So we have a campus in Brisbane, but another one on the Gold Coast, and I think the Gold Coast one may be particularly attractive to many of you. It really is a beautiful part of the world, so a great place to have a bit of fun as well as study. Why study at Griffith Law School? Well, there's many reasons. We get a lot of feedback from our students and alumni about the quality of the teaching experience. We do take teaching very seriously and take the student experience very seriously. Our lecturers have a reputation for being very approachable and friendly, and we tend to forge positive relationships with our students, and they continue on into alumni. we have a world-leading clinical legal education program. It's been written up in many journals, so our students have opportunities to undertake placements at community legal centres, law firms, refugee clinics and so forth. So there's plenty of opportunities for practical experience as our students undertake their degrees. One thing we're also proud of here at Griffith Law School is a global perspective. We recognise that most of the people who study here, whether they're Australians or from another part of the world, such as Canada, will not just practice in their own domestic jurisdictions, but will have to deal with questions of international trade, clients from all over the world really, and so we teach our students to have a global perspective, an understanding of different legal systems, and we certainly have a range of international law courses that students can engage in. We have very vibrant student law associations, such as the Law Students Association at the Gold Coast campus, which is very active in providing mentoring programs for students, organising lots of really fun social events. There's participation in a range of competitions as well that they sponsor students to take part in. So that's another bonus of the Griffith Law School, and the strong sense of community and the very active student body. The other thing to mention is if you study at Griffith Law School, you're studying in one of the best law schools in the world. So there's a ranking system known as the QS World Rankings, and Griffith Law School has been ranked amongst the top 100 in the world, and we're very proud of that. You'll also learn from award-winning teachers. Many of our lecturers here at Griffith Law School have won national awards for the quality of their teaching, and we're very proud of that as well. So in terms of our law program itself, we have a graduate entry law degree which takes 3 years to complete, and to qualify for entry into that you just have to have a bachelor degree from any discipline with a pass level for that bachelor degree. We also have a single law degree that you can take straight from school, and that's a 4-year degree, and coming from Canada you need a high school diploma with an aggregate score of 70% to qualify for entry into that 4-year single law degree. We also have a range of great combined degrees, so arts law, criminology law, international business law, international relations law. There really is quite a variety of double degree programs, which are strictly speaking 5.5 years, although we find most students tend to knock it over in 5 years or slightly less by taking a number of summer electives that we offer.
If I could just jump in there as well, Therese. One of the advantages of doing a program here in Australia as an international student is that if you do complete a degree in 3 years at undergraduate level and at 2 years at master's degree level, you are entitled to apply for the post-study work visa, which gives you 2 years of work rights to stay in the country and gain some experience in the field of your study before going back or before looking and exploring further options. So there are 2 aspects that you can consider. One is the actual academic program itself, and the other one is the fact that it springboards you to a post-study work visa, allowing you to gain work experience in Australia for up to 2 years.
I'll just say the lovely lady who you just saw at the back of the screen is one of our very approachable, friendly professors who regularly pops in to make me a cup of coffee. So we're a very friendly mob here at Griffith Law School. I don't think she realised we were on a webinar. I'll tell you a little bit about our program as well. Within, say, the 3-year single law degree, there's 24 courses that you take, essentially, 4 a semester or 8 a year for that 3 years. Now, 18 of those courses are fixed, our core courses. We have some really interesting first-year courses, Foundations of Law and then Global Law. This is in keeping with our commitment to internationalisation and globalisation. We have some interesting capstone courses, Ethics and Professional Responsibility and Practice, and Theories of Law. We like to take a theoretical, critical approach to the law, not just teaching what the law is, but encouraging you to question what the law is and why and whether it should be reformed, for example.
Sorry if I can just jump in. Ruben, you have a question about 2-year college diplomas. So the way it would work is we would have to actually look at your transcript. Obviously, having completed high school and a 2-year college diploma, you would be eligible to go into a Bachelor of Laws. But whether you'd get credit into part of the first year or not would have to be ascertained upon reviewing that college diploma.
Okay, thanks. We have the other standard core courses, so contract law, criminal law, torts, constitutional law, administrative law, property law, equity and trusts, corporations, evidence, civil procedure, the ones that you would standardly expect and that are consistent with Canadian law. We're both a common law system, so the content of those courses is very similar. And then we have some really interesting elective streams. So for the remainder of the courses, you can choose from a range of elective streams so that you can pursue areas of particular interest to you. So you could pursue electives in the area of clinical and legal professional practice, so take our clinics and get some practical experience. Theories and context of law, if you're interested in the more philosophical aspects of law. Global law and governance, if you really want to pursue international subjects. Law and commerce, for those who are more commercially minded, and also environment and social justice. Griffith Law School prides itself on a strong social justice approach to law, to teaching law, and to the practice of law. That really gives you a bit of an overview of what our law program is all about, and if there are any questions.
What about work experience? Do you have sort of work opportunities embedded in the program?
So through the clinical legal education program, there are many opportunities to work, as I said, in legal settings, in law firms, in commercial legal centres and so forth. We also have a graduate placement officer who works very actively with our students to secure clerkships while they're undertaking their degree. So most of our students do spend their summers, for example, working in law firms and getting paid, which is pretty good as well. So it's a good way to earn a bit of money over the breaks. So yes, there are plenty of opportunities for practical experience in the workplace while you undertake your law degree.
And what about workload, expected academic workload? I mean, how much time are students expected to hit the books, and how much sort of teacher contact hours will they have during the course of the program?
So the standard program would be each semester, and there's 2 semesters a year. Each semester you would undertake 4 courses, and most of those courses have about 3 contact hours a week. So you're looking at 12 contact hours a week, and you've also got your preparation time. Most of our students manage to hold down part-time jobs and things as well, but it's a fairly, you can see that that's a full-time commitment to take 4 courses at a time.
And in terms of part-time jobs, as international students, it doesn't matter whether you're from Canada or whether from the UK, you have a part-time work permit embedded in your international student visa, which allows you to work for up to 40 hours over a 2-week period, okay? Which means that if you can find 10 hours of part-time work in the first week, you're entitled to work up to 30 hours the following week. And as long as you don't go over that 40-hour limit over a 2-week period, you can take any job that people will employ you for. So it's probably not realistic to expect you're going to get a part-time job as a lawyer or as a trainee lawyer. And in all fairness, most of our students, our international students, find work in the hospitality industry, whether it be in the pubs or the clubs or the restaurants or the shops. Minimum wage in Australia is about $17 per hour American. Okay, so it's substantially more than it is in Canada. Bearing in mind that we don't tip in the restaurants, which is a very big difference.
Which we get in trouble for when we travel.
That's right. So students can expect to make a couple of $100s per week part-time, but it's not realistic to think that you're going to be able to pay your tuition fees or to sort of really, financially support yourself. It's pocket money more than anything else. Having said that, some students are innovative and they're able to find fairly good work, whether it's part-time tutorials, whether it's teaching in high schools. There are plenty of opportunities out there. And as I said, that part-time visa then converts into a full-time visa during the holidays. So during your long summer holiday over the hot months of December, January and February, which is the opposite to Canada, you can actually hold down a full-time work.
In between visits to the beach, of course.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. What is the cost of living? The cost of living in Australia is, look, it's not cheap. I'm not going to try and pull the wool over your eyes and tell you that it's cheap. It depends where you are, to be honest. Sydney and Melbourne, the main sort of hubs, if you like, are 20% more or so than where we are in southeast Queensland. So what we advise students coming to study at Griffith University is that you really need to be budgeting about $18,000 per year. Now, that $18,000 is enough to get you here, aeroplane ticket. It's enough for accommodation, it's enough for food, it's enough for transport. So those four components can be contained within that $18,000. Now obviously if you're going to drink beer and eat McDonald's every day, you're going to be spending more, and if you're going to be growing your own vegetables, you can spend a bit less. However, it does average out at about $18,000 per year cost of living. What about things like research? Are there research opportunities? Are the students able to get into thesis development and dissertations and things like that?
Absolutely, particularly if you were interested in our honours program, where in your final year of study you'll actually write a 15,000 word paper, which then qualifies you for PhD study if you're interested in pursuing an academic career and undertaking a PhD. But we find many of our students who are bright and prove themselves as good students are able to secure work as research assistants for many of our academics, and I employ a couple myself at the moment. So there's certainly opportunities to pursue a research agenda if that's what you're interested in. So we've got something for those who are interested in just lots of practical, clinical, professional, legal practice opportunities, but there are equally many opportunities for those who are interested in a more academic career.
And Teresa touched early on upon the School of Law's academic ranking. Now, for those of you that know how rankings work, essentially it boils down to quality and quantity of research output. So if students do PhDs, they grant the university a certain number of points, and if other people do PhDs and refer to the original PhDs as reference points, they're called citations. And so combinations of citations and publications results in an academic ranking. Griffith's ranking in the law school is in the top
100.
Top 100
it
in
was
the
in
world.
the top 50 last year, and now it's the top 100.
So that's top 100 in the world. Now, bearing in mind there's roughly about 20,000 universities in the world, being in the top 100 is a fairly prestigious area to be. So if you are interested in the academic side of things, the research, then the rankings is something that you need to pay attention to. There are two other ranking systems that are worth taking into consideration as well. And the second one is student satisfaction. So we have something called the International Student Barometer, which is essentially an independent survey carried out amongst students. And that looks at things like general satisfaction levels among students. So whether it's the weather, whether it's the quality of the internet, the food on the campus, how safe you feel. General levels of satisfaction are very, very high amongst Griffith University students. The third thing I should say looking at is the career outcomes. So what happens afterwards? So Griffith University, we keep in contact wherever possible with our graduates to find out where they went once they left the university, what jobs they went into, what the median salary that they gain is. And Griffith performs very, very well on that. So if you look at those three components, you've got your academic rankings, your student satisfaction, and your careers outcomes. And if you look at those as a bundle, then Griffith does really punch above its weight for a university that's not even 50 years old yet.
And if I could just add too, just in terms of the law school, and it's really, I guess, only anecdotal evidence that I have, but from many of the alumni who I keep in contact with, we've got quite a few currently working in London, for example, and this is part of our gearing our students up to be international, global lawyers. They obviously work all over the country as well, and we've got some in the United States, but they really are very global in their reach.
And that's London, UK, Ruben, okay, not London,
sorry.
Ontario.
Yeah.
Now then, we've got a question here. Do we require LSAT test scores when applying? Reference letters, personal statements. We don't. We, as the admissions department, does not require LSAT test scores. Reference letters always help, and personal statements always help. But essentially, the main thing we need from you is an application form through our partners KOM consultants and a transcript. Any other questions? Do you have any questions? You can live on campus here. So we have on-campus accommodation, which we always recommend to our students. Not only, I mean, you know, as Canadian students, you'll come over here, nobody knows you're not Australian until you start talking. But you will need to adjust to the lifestyle, the food, the climate, the animals you might see on our campus. And it's just a sort of a settling in period that is best dealt with if you are living on campus. I mean, that way you can wake up in the morning and walk straight across the campus into your lectures without worrying about public transport, signing tenancy lease agreements and things like that. I mean, by all means, second semester, once you've made a bunch of friends, by all means go and rent an apartment down by the beach, go and rent an apartment nearer the city, because you will have been familiarized with your academic program, and you might want to economize more by living out off campus. But we do recommend you investigate on-campus accommodation first. Any other questions? So far they've been very good on-track questions about the program. As soon as people start asking about spiders and sharks, we'll know that it's time to sort of wind up. So, do you have any queries? Is there anything else that we can address? KOM abroad, these are our agents in Canada. Martin, do you have any questions at all you'd like me to respond to? How many law students do we have at the moment, do you know?
Well, each year we intake between 350 and 450, and our students either undertaking a 3, 4 or 5 year degree. So on each campus, Gold Coast and Nathan, we've got over 1,000 students. Okay. So it's quite a large cohort, but it doesn't feel too large, and I think on the Gold Coast, for example, that's in part due to the excellent work of the Law Students Association, who, as I said at the beginning, are incredibly active and effective at creating a great sense of community. I think most of our students tend to get quite involved and feel that sense of community on the Gold Coast campus.
Sure. We've got a couple of questions actually. M. Bryce, who is a popular visitor to our webinars. Is there much free time for students in the program?
They all seem to make free time. Look, it's a full-on study program, but it's for 2 semesters of 13 weeks, so that's 26 weeks of the year. During those weeks, and particularly in the lead up to the end of the semester when you're preparing for exams, I think it's a busy program, but you would still have weekends, and certainly the breaks in between are a good time to get part-time jobs and also enjoy yourself. So, I mean, university, as most people would be aware, is you know, a very nice period of your life where you do enjoy considerably more free time than you will when you start full-time work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just responding to a question from Ruben, or I'll call you by your handle, Sir Vex Smasher. Yes, Griffith does have an agreement with Fanshawe College. In fact, Griffith has an agreement with all 24 of the Ontario colleges. And essentially the way they've worked is, over the past 10 years, we've reviewed pretty much all the programs that the big colleges have in the way of both your 2-year and your 3-year diplomas, and we've married them accordingly into our bachelor's degrees. So if you were studying, for example, a 2-year diploma of business administration, you would then be able to complete a bachelor's degree with us in as little as 1.5 years, academic years, 3 semesters. In some cases, when you've done a 3-year diploma, you're able to come into the final year of a bachelor's degree with us. Now, law is a professional or semi-professional program, so the credit transfer is somewhat less. Nevertheless, we would be able to review your transcript of a 2-year diploma to see whether there was credit available into the first year, and we're not promising anything on that. Generally speaking, Canadian students that come into our law programs are coming into the graduate entry program. But certainly we are able to review a college diploma with a view to providing credit where possible. Now, Shalanda Benjamin, what are the requirements? It depends which program you're going to go into. If you're going into the 4-year Bachelor of Law program, you will need a provincial high school leaving diploma with an average of about 65 to 70%, the higher the better. And if you're coming into our graduate entry program, you will need a bachelor's degree or equivalent with a similar GPA of about 65 to 70%. And the bachelor's degree does not necessarily have to be related to law in any way. You could have done a Bachelor of Engineering or a Bachelor of cow milking, whatever you want to do. So, arts, yeah. Another thing that was mentioned earlier on is that those of you that are interested in studying bachelor's level law in Australia, please keep in contact with KOM consultants, because there is a process and a procedure for when you go back to Canada. Are you able to talk to that conversion program?
Yes, so as I understand it, the accrediting authority in Canada will require you to pass some exams when you return to Canada in order to be admitted to practice in Canada. We're actually doing some work at the moment to see if we can assist Canadian students prepare for those exams while they are here. But I'll be honest and say that work is still under progress and isn't in place as yet. But there are 5 Canadian courses that the accrediting authority will require you to complete exams for. As I said, I think by and large most Canadian students would be fairly well prepared by the courses that they've undertaken here in any event, because both Canada and Australia are common law countries. We both draw on English case law, for example, in most areas of law, and so I don't expect this to be too much of a hurdle for most Canadian students who are returning to Canada to practice there.
And as Martin mentions, law application assessments take up to between 3 and 4 weeks. If you put on your application that you saw myself and Teresa on the webinar, we'll sit them at the top of the pile and we'll prioritise them for you. How's that? Any other questions? Is there anything that you'd like us to tell you about in terms of whether it's the components of the program, the structure of the program, the location of the campuses, anything like that? What about the staff at KOM abroad? Do you have anything that you'd like us to mention?
Just in terms of the location of the campuses, the Gold Coast campus is in an area called Southport. It's set in bushland. Actually, both of our campuses are set in bushland. Many kookaburras and goannas to be seen on both campuses, but the Southport campus is about 10 minutes drive to the beach, and it's a very pleasant part of the world.
And for those of you that don't know what kookaburras and goannas are, a kookaburra is a big bird, part of the kingfisher family, I believe.
Yes.
And goannas are essentially big lizards. So we do have some interesting flora and fauna here. From time to time you'll see kangaroos on the campus. You may even see a koala. There are koalas that actually you may see up in the Nathan campus, which is where we are at the moment.
How large would the graduate law program classes be? So the law program is taught to the whole cohort, whether those people are doing the 4-year straight law program or the 3-year graduate law degree. You'll take your courses together. In most lectures for the compulsory, for the core courses, you'll have about 200 students with you. In the electives that you take as part of your program, you'll tend to have around 50, 60 students with you in your cohort. That's in the lecture theatres, but then there's also tutorials which are capped at 30, so you'll have about 20 to 30 people in class with you for those.
There's a question there from M. Bryce in terms of our strengths, whether it's commercial law, criminal law. Do we have a particular strength that you would...
Look, we have experts covering all of the bases in terms of commercial law. Criminal law is a part of our program, not a huge part, although a lot of people particularly interested in criminal law do a combined law criminology degree, which is one of our combined degree programs. I tend to think our strength is probably in international law, actually, if there's a focus anywhere, but we certainly have expertise across the board.
Martin's just mentioned there that if you are interested not only in just applying, but if you want more information, then by all means contact these guys. They're based in Hamilton, Ontario. Obviously you're on their website at the moment, so all the contact details are sort of implicit in that particular website. I think we've pretty much covered everything, don't you?
I think we have.
So we'll give you, the floor is now open. If you do have any questions, now is the time to get them out there. And we'll give you a couple of minutes. But then we're going to sign off. this webinar, I'm sorry, is actually being recorded. So Martin and his team at KOM will actually have this sitting on the KOM Consultants website for posterity. So if you want to actually run over just to check the information if you do have any questions. So look, in the meantime, I'll just sort of leaves me to say thank you very much for tuning in. On behalf of the School of Law and myself, it's always nice to sort of be able to reach out using these wonderful social platforms. So please get in touch if you do have any questions, and we would love to have Canadian students come into the School of Law.
Yes, I'd very much enjoy welcoming you. So get in touch if you do come. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Before we start swearing?
That's right. So it's actually recording it. I think it might still be.
Oh, we missed one. Any exchange opportunities for Canadians. That's a shame.
That's all right. I think we're still on.
Oh, are we?
Oh, any exchange opportunities for Canadians? I thought we're back, guys. Just as we signed off, we realised there's one more. Any exchange opportunities for Canadians?
Look, we have a range of student exchange agreements with a number of universities, and yes, we do get quite a few Canadian students here on student exchange programs. We send students there, and we have students here, so. Certainly that's an option. Come and do a semester, so you could do, and often it is a semester of, say, international courses that a Canadian student might come and take with us.
You'd have to check our exchange agreements as well to see that we do work reciprocally with the institution that you're in at the moment.
Yeah.
SAWA 05, do Griffith University have scholarship applications available to intern? We do have some scholarships, but generally they sit at the research end of the spectrum. So if you are applying to do a PhD, that's where the pot of money sits. At the undergraduate, so the bachelor's degree and the master's degree, we do not have that many scholarships, I'm afraid. And we certainly wouldn't front load them anyway. We wouldn't be able to provide a scholarship before you had shown your colours as a high-performing student once having spent some time here. So the answer to that question is I wouldn't be relying on a scholarship unless you are looking to do PhD or postdoctoral research. Okay, so we'll try again to say goodbye. And lovely to have given you this information. By all means, keep in contact with Martin and his team at KOM, and they will be able to fire your questions towards us. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.